Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. It's been on a bit of an extended hiatus since uploading one of these, but we're back, baby. We are back. Currently down here in Mooloolaba. It is a stunning day. It's a little bit spicy, but it's absolutely beautiful, as you can tell. A little bit of wind around, but that's okay. Since my extended hiatus, I've it's been a very profound year, we'll put it that way. So I've been doing a year of sobriety, and that's all drugs except for caffeine and my heart medication, because I kind of need both of those to survive. But within that year, I've actually found myself going to church, making a return to church after what was a 20-year hiatus there as well. And actually got baptized in August, and it's been a beautiful journey for me, and it's been an absolute blessing in my life. And it kind of, because of church, it's led me into a bit of the conversation as to what I want to talk about today. There's a lady in there named Julia. She gave me a message. This was maybe a month or two ago, and that's led me to a lot of thinking and a lot of writing. And it happened from one service where before the service started, I was actually playing basketball with some kids out the front, and Julia actually approached me after the church service had finished, and she said that she saw me playing with the kids out the front, and the message that she received was that she sees me being a father for the fatherless. And that led me to do a lot of writing and a lot of reflection as to what exactly that means. So I wanted to go over some of that writing with you guys today, and just share my thoughts and ideas with you guys, and ultimately share them with a future version of me as well, as I grow and develop in this role into the person who I am. And yeah. So her message: I see you being a father for the fatherless. But what does this message truly mean? What does it mean to be a father for the fatherless? My initial thoughts are for young men. The young men who don't have a strong masculine figure in their life, guiding them and teaching them how to be a strong man in today's society. But what does a healthy and strong masculinity look like? What does it mean to be a strong man in today's world? I think it all starts with being a good leader. And being a good leader requires you to be a good follower. But then that begs the question, what does it mean to be a good leader and a good follower? I believe we can start answering all of those questions with one word: magnanimity. The word magnanimous comes from Latin magnus, which means great, and animus, which means soul. This is a person, or in this case, a man, that is noble and brave, not merely for the sake of their own good, but for the greater good of all of those around them. They are a strong man in their character. They are morally courageous and able to stand up for their own beliefs. But there needs to be a level of meekness that comes with the responsibility of being a good man. This isn't about simply being submissive to everything, but this is having an understanding of your own power, and ties back to being a good leader, but also a good follower. This requires a level of humility, to humble yourself before others. And I wanted to touch on meekness a little bit as well, because I think meekness is a lot of the time misconstrued within this world, and to touch on, people think meekness is being a level of being submissive, but to me it's having power. It's having the ability to harm others, but having an understanding of that harm is to keep your sword sheathed. And if you don't have the ability to harm others, or you don't have an understanding of your own power and your own strength, or you have no power or strength, That's not being meek. That's just being harmless. And I think to be a good man, you have to have strength. You have to have an understanding of the monster within. But to have that monster under control is to have it at your beckoning. And I think that is what meekness is. And I think meekness is definitely a virtue. And again, it's to have the sword, to have the ability to kill your enemy, but to have that sword sheathed. And I think that's, I think that is a very, very powerful virtue to have. So the ideal masculine, the virtuous masculine, is not merely something that society should want, but I believe that it is what society needs. We, as men, have been taught two varying levels of toxic masculinity. One is the idea of the dominating alpha male that owns, controls, and overpowers those around him. This idea is a limiting and selfish belief, and the level of masculine this idea is a limiting, selfish belief and a selfish level of masculinity. And I think that if also to add to that kind of masculinity is kind of coming from a place of fear and almost insecurity in a way. But whilst there are traits of the masculine within this profile, they are rooted within the ego-driven self. This is the idea, for me, is the idea for me to win, you must lose. And this is a very finite mindset. The other form of masculinity is almost the complete absence of masculine. This is where we, as men, are taught that it's not okay to be masculine. Almost as if because I am a man, that I need to wake up and apologize to the world for it. Maybe a toxic level of non-masculinity is a better way to put it. The problem with this is it is creating weak and submissive men. The opposite end of the spectrum to the alpha male that I was talking about before. The issue with this is that a lot of men are losing their identity and purpose. This is creating all kinds of psychological battles internally for a lot of men within our society. And that leads to a lot of mental health issues and spiritual warfare, which leads to death and destruction in many areas, both for the individual and the world. And I'm talking about physical death and the metaphysical death as well, which we can see rife within society at the moment, and it's absolutely horrible. And that's going down to the levels of men that are committing suicide. So that's the physical death of these men who are losing their purpose and their drive and their identity. But then the metaphysical, and that's the death of the man in himself, and it's horrible to witness. But that's a big purpose of why I'm sharing these things and why I'm in the position that I'm in today, and we'll sort of delve a little bit deeper into that now. So for me, the answer lies somewhere in the middle. It lies within the man who will stand up for what he believes and his family. The man who has integrity and a strong moral code. He has the ability to exert his power, but has it under control and is timid when he needs to be. He is a protector and a healer, a warrior and a pacifist. He stands up for and protects the little guy and does not fear the enemies that he comes up against. He will ride out and meet them as he has the courage in the face of adversity. This is the healthy level of masculinity that needs to be taught to our men within society. These men, to become great men, also have to integrate their feminine. They need to love and respect the feminine within, because that is as much of them as the masculine is. And to be a great man, one must have balance. To have a true respect and adoration for women, a great man must have respect and adoration for the feminine that lies within them. To go back to my original virtue of the great man, the strong man, the man that modern society so desperately needs, is magnanimity. That is to be able to seek out to become a man that could be labeled as great and as strong, but not to seek it out for their own fulfillment, but for the greater fulfillment of the community that they exist within, for the betterment of their own personal realities. So maybe that is what it means for me to be a father for the fatherless. It is to teach these traits to the young men that I come across. Teach it to young men and teach it to the young women to seek these men out and to not settle for a lesser man because they are deserving of this kind of man. Maybe it is also not just for the children whose fathers are literally absent in their lives, but also for those whose fathers may be present but are not truly present or are not setting the example of what it means to be a great man. And that's pretty much it from what I had written. And I think that it's so important, and I think that we are losing touch with the masculine. It's almost being ostracized within society, and I think that it's incredibly unhealthy. You know, we need the balance, as I said before, in the feminine and the masculine, and men have such an important role within today's society that I don't believe that women can fulfill, not in the way that a man can. I'm not trying to degrade women here or say that they can't do things that men can do, but men have an important role, and there's very gender-specific roles that we play, and we see that in all forms of nature and all of creation at so many different varying levels, and I think women should be empowered by that. Like, you know, that's not being toxic towards women or anything like that. I love and adore women, but they have a very important role that we as men cannot do. Whilst we can do a lot of the things that they do, there are gender-specific things, the way that we are built within our nature, that women just excel at, that are just better than men at. But we need that healthy balance. You know, we need both ends of the seesaw to be balanced, so that, you know, one side doesn't become lopsided and it doesn't become fun for anybody. So yeah, that to me is part of what I think it means for that message of being a father for the fatherless. And there is more. I've actually come back to it and written a bit more on it in another role, being a father for the fatherless, which I'll share with you guys in another video. But yeah, I think to me, being a father for the fatherless is for me to be able to become a good man, to become a great man, and then I can be an example of what that is for other young men in my life, and to be that for women as well, so that young women can understand the type of bloke that they deserve. And I hope that I can be a fine example of what that is, and allow a lot of this hurt and trauma in this world to at least be minimised in any which way that I can. So, but there, that brings it up. Don't need to ramble on any more about that. So, very grateful to be back. Very excited to share more with you guys, and share more about my journey as well, because it's been a hugely transformative year for me, and next year's shaping up to be bigger and better again, and I'm very, very excited for what it holds. So if you've made it this far, thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. Like, you know, all of these things help the algorithm more than you will ever begin to understand. So yeah, just give the man some love. So I hope you guys have an absolutely fantastic day. Thank you once again for tuning in, and as always, much love and namaste.